Everyone, welcome to today's video. As you can see, I've set up my basher in the background there, just as a simple A-frame configuration, and that's what today's video is going to be about. Quite to my surprise, one of my viewers tracked me down on Facebook. They clearly were a friend of a friend and managed to find myself on Facebook and sent me a little message, and I'm quite surprised at that because I don't have many viewers, I don't have many subscribers. So guys, you know, show your support and subscribe to my channel if you like what I'm about to show you today. I've taken a screenshot of their message. It was based on one of my previous videos, my last one, about repairing your tarp. Okay, so I've taken a screenshot here. Just for 2 seconds, guys. I'll get that up, and it's from Andreas Polio. I do apologise if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly there, Andreas. I can see English is your second language, just based on some of the spelling mistakes there, so bear with us here 2 minutes here, guys. So Andreas, to the point of what you were asking, is saying thank you for the video. There's some great tips and tricks on repairing your tarp and sealing the seams. Okay, you're welcome. And it says here as well, can you do a video showing how you set up your tarp and what knots you use? Okay, I can do that. And also, what kind of recommendations do you have for tarps? Okay, there's a couple of questions there, Andreas, and what I'll say is I can show you definitely the knots, okay, that I've been using over the years, and I've used some other types of, you know, systems to set up my tarp and tried different things, and now I use what works for me. And the reality is it does take practice with knots. Okay, you have to have some patience, and the good thing is you can do it at home. You can practice this at home. I think I had my cat scratch tower and I was just doing it around that at home, practicing my knots, back in the days. I've tried other systems to setting up the tarp, and it's looking at what works for you. Okay, because the reality is we can use hundreds of knots to do the same thing. Okay. In this video, what I'll do is I'll answer that question, what knots to use, or which ones I use specifically, as you asked there, and I'll also address, choosing your tarp. However, I'm not going to do gear review, okay, because my channel is not related to gear review, guys. There's plenty of stuff out there on what gear you should buy. Personally, I think it's a personal preference, and it depends on what your use is for it. Okay, so what do you tend to use it for? Also, how often are you going to use it will dictate the quality that you're going to need. But we'll talk about some examples that you could buy, some common ones that you see on the market. But I'm not going to review them because it's, again, that's just opinion. Okay, that's all that's going to be. Hence is why I'm going to be doing gear reviews here, guys. Excuse me. And with that said, I'll talk about some of the resources you can look at to setting up your tarp. Okay, what resources you can read, and there's plenty of information here on YouTube as well. So see this one as more of a personal video for yourself, but this is for anybody, guys. So if anyone's watching this, and you're learning something from this, please subscribe to my channel, because I'll be putting out more content like this if you wish. And feel free to ask me if I know certain things. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you guys. So without further ado, let's have a look at some of the tarp options first, and then where you can have a look at some resources and learning your knots. Okay, and then I'll do some demonstrations. Enjoy today's video, guys. Okay, so let's start off with the type of tarps you use, or you could choose. Firstly, the one behind me, you can see in the video, that is my Highlander military basher. Okay, I've had it coming up to 16 years or so, probably is 16 years now actually. So I've had it for some time, and I've been using it, quite a lot. I've used it hundreds of times. It was probably the one and only basher that I was using at one point. As you saw in the last video, I did a repair on it, and it's still going strong, and that repair has really held out well. And the good thing about this basher, it's small, it's also lightweight. I mean, it weighs grams, guys. It packs up really, really small. It's ideal for ground dwelling. You can put a hammock underneath it. I have done that. It's the one that will probably be coming with me to the jungle in September. So when I'm going to the Amazon jungle, that's probably the one I'm going to carry, because it's small and light, and it does the job. Okay, and it's very inexpensive, guys. You're probably looking no more than 30 quid to buy something like that. And I like that basher as a little overnight tarp. Just quickly put up a tarp, get underneath it. No one can see you, because it's got the camo pattern to it. And I tend to do a lot of bivvying under there if I do use that basher. And it's also, I lend it out to people as well. It's my use and abuse tarp. Okay, if I am hammocking and I'm looking for a larger workspace as well, this is the tarp I tend to use, which is my 3x3 DD hammock. I've had this for some time as well. So if I'm okay with the weight, to carry that little extra, and it's not necessarily backpacking and traveling long distance, I tend to use this if it's just going out to bushcraft meets and events, and also paddling my canoe, or just car camping or anything like that. I tend to use this. And if I know I'm not going to be traveling far, a couple of hours into the woodlands, this is probably the one I use the most as well. This is 3 meters by 3 meters, so it's a lot larger. With size comes more versatility. You can have more configurations going on. You've got different ways of turning it into a tent if you wish to. On that note though, there's a compromise of a little bit extra weight and a little bit extra bulk, but I'm okay with that. I mean, it still packs fairly small, so I can take this backpacking, which I have done, to use it as a tent as well. Another option you've got here, guys, is this one here. This is your typical army issue tarp. It's a bit heavy for the size of it. Okay, packing it can be a bit of a pain. You just have to stuff it in there, and it has on the actual basher itself, it has this sort of material that kind of moves around. It's quite slippy. It's almost like it's been waxed, and it has these material
webbing. It goes across the entire bashas, and it's very strong as well because it can double up as a stretcher. So in case you had, an injured part, you need to stretch them out there, that bash is, designed for that. And it is designed for that purpose. It's more for military use. This one tends to live in my car. I do use it occasionally for car camping and things like that if I had to. Setting it up, it doesn't set up as nicely as the Highlander or the DD, although it gives you shelter. So that's ultimately what you're looking for there, guys. And, I've used that for many years, and I do swear by them. They're bomb-proof, they're very solid there. So, like I said, it's not reviewing these guys because it's all opinion, but I'm just saying the rationale of why I use what I use. So that's for my overnighter, quick setup, ground dwell, use and abuse it. My 3x3, if I want more space, I can get a hammock under there. It comes down to what you're using it for and why you're using it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to now talk about the resources you can use to tie knots. Okay, so as for information on setting up your tarp, generally sometimes the manufacturer will provide you with some information on how to do it. You could always ask them for advice and they can tell you where to go as well. Good resources to use. I've got 2 books here. The one that I've been using for most of my time in practicing bushcrafts, and even when I've taught courses in the past, and these are the same knots that we would tend to use in those courses as well, is Ray Mears' bushcraft book. It only has a handful of knots, guys, so it's this whole section on cordage there, talking about how to make it, but more important, it talks about different weaves and different sort of lashes and knots that you can use, and how to hank your cordage up as well. But more importantly, it talks about the knots that you would need to use to set up your tarp. Okay, you have 4 main knots. The first one would be to rig up one end of the line, and the other one would create tension on the other. Okay, and then you've got your guy lines, and they're adjustable knots, so you can adjust the guy lines instead of using the little plastic things that come on tents. And you can also use Prosecks on the ends just to get that tension there, to get some tension on the actual tarp itself. So I'm going to be showing you those 4 knots today, okay, because they're the ones I've been using for years, and they work. Okay, that's a credible source because look at Ray Mears. At the end of the day, he's successful in his industry for a reason. He does know his stuff, and he's been applying those skills in all sorts of environments, from jungle, desert, bush, everywhere, and he's applied those skills for his career. I know Paul Kirtley's done videos on the same knots I'm going to show you today as well, so they're very, very informative, guys. Have a look at those as well. Again, they're bomb-proof and they work. Okay, they do require some element of practice. I've tried to show them to people in the past, and sometimes they're not quite getting it. But the reality is, you've got to put the time in. Again, you've got to practice. Other resources, incredible sources you can look at. This is a book here that was gifted to me by my friend Spence. So thank you, Spence, for this book. I've been having a look at it. It's Knots and Rope Work, okay, by Jeffrey Budworth. Okay, huge book. Talks about different ropes and different cordage. It talks about all the different knots you could do, and lashes and splices, and even weaves and so on. There's so much in there for different applications. Now, it is an encyclopedia, okay? Don't feel obligated that you need to learn all the knots in the world here, because there's too many to learn, guys. There's hundreds that are still being invented. Don't feel obligated to learn all the knots in the world if you just want to come out and practice a bit of, bushcraft-related skills and set up a tarp and do some basic things. I can tell you now, probably learn around 15 or so knots for different applications I use all the time. Okay. Now, by all means, I'm not a knot expert like whoever wrote that book, which is Jeffrey Budworth. Okay. I'm not a rope expert or a knot expert, but in any way. But what you should do is learn the knots you need when you need them. Okay, so if you think there's a particular application I need to apply, then learn the knot for that application at that time, and that would be my big advice to you guys. For practicing these things. And then you're building up your portfolio, you're building up the tool and knowledge that you need. Not all knots that I learn are for bushcraft related purposes. Some knots I use for my day-to-day life. Okay, simply like tying my shoelace. Obviously there's different ways of doing that, depending on the type of terrain you're walking in. And different applications for simple things like going to the gym. I might need to use a knot on certain things, like suspension training and what have not. Then I learn certain knots for that as well. So it really depends on what your knot's for. and so they're, you know, I suppose transferable skills. So without further ado, let's have a look at the three main knots used for the tarps, and we'll look at the prussics as well. So that'll be 4 knots we're going to look at today, and then I'm also going to show you a way of setting up your tarp if you really don't have the patience of learning knots. Personally, I think you should put the time into it because it's definitely worth doing. They weigh nothing, but I'll show you a way you can do this, setting up your tarp without your knots as well. Okay, so I'm going to change the view of the camera. We're going to look at a small saplings of some sort, some small tree that'll do there, and then we'll have a look at some of the knots we can use there. Okay, guys? Okay, so here so you can see what's going on. So we're going to use some paracord. This is just some inexpensive paracord, guys. It doesn't have to be 550. Okay, you can use 550 by all means, but your tarp's not going to weigh 550 pounds, so any sort of good quality nylon cord like this will do. Okay, now to set up the first knot, you just go around the tree like that, and we're going to use a bit of terminology here. So this is your tag end, okay, or your working end. Okay, if I ever create a loop, I'll be doing something like that, where I created a loop, and if I create a bite, I'll just be pinching it like that. Okay, so let's start off with the first knot here, the event hitch. You put both ends of the rope over your hand like that. Okay, you've got your tag end, which was the working end, the end that we're going to be moving and working with. You go around your hand once, like so. Okay, then what you do is you point your hand down. Okay, so now you come over, there's the end there that's going on your tarp, and you take a bite of the working end, and then you pull it, so it creates its own little loop there. Okay, once you've got to that point, you can then pull that up to the tree, position it where you want. Okay, that's going nowhere. I like to put it a little bit to the side of the tree, so when more tension happens, it gets tighter and tighter here. Okay, so that is that knot. It is quick releasing, so you just pull the working end and that comes apart nice and easily. Okay, so I'll show you that in normal time now. So you go round once, down and over, take a bite, and then okay, that's it. Okay, guys, nothing to it. Takes a bit of practice. Have, you know, rewind the video as many times as you need. Okay, but that is the event hitch. Okay, so the next knot is going to be the tarp taut hitch. Okay, so what we do, take our line around the tree. Now you might see this is in a bit of an angles because I've got it attached to the floor here for the moment. I could touch it to the tree behind it, to be fair, but we get the idea. So what we've got to do is go around the tree, go under itself, okay, and then back on itself like that. So you're creating tension. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do, is create tension. You can then give it a bit of a bite on that side, so it goes over the rope it's gone around us already, and then come back on itself. Okay, so what that's done, let me get that working end out of the way. What that's done is created tension there. Okay, now we put the line like that. Okay, you can see like a little triangle going on there. So what we need to do is we're going to create a bite and go underneath, okay, like so, and we're going to pull that up. Now that won't hold itself, so once you've done that one, you need to then go under itself and grab another bite. So let me just do that again. So grab another bite from there and then pull that in itself. Now that's locked off. Okay, and that's the tarp taut hitch. Okay, guys, again, it's quick release, so when you pull it, it'll all come undone. Alright, so I'll show you again, this time in more real time. So we've gone round the tree like that. There's some tension to it. The tree's moving because it's very light. We go under. Let's get the working end out of the way. You take a bite on itself like that, so you're almost like pinching the rope that's on the tree. You come around. I find if you've got long rope, it can twist around itself. You create that little triangle there. You put a bite underneath it, pull it up, and
and then go under to create another lock. Okay, and that is in place. Okay guys, so that'll be the 2 knots that I've shown you so far that's suspended to the trees. The next one I will show you is the slippery adjustable hitch. So we're going to use this sort of stump of a tree here that's sort of dead. Okay, just to illustrate that what you could do on a tent peg, getting caught up on branches here, what we could be doing on a tent peg, or if we're tying to a rock or tying to a stump like this one, okay, with our tarp, you know, looking at the corners now, what you do, I'll bring you down here, okay, camera there, go around the item first that you're tying to. So you'll see here you got the line and then you got my working end. Okay, so you'll throw your working end over the line like that, and then you go back on itself. Okay, but you're going to wrap, let's get some tension there, you're going to wrap around this line about 3 times. Okay, so you can go once, throw over it, okay, 2, throw it over again, and there's 3. Okay, and what that does is causes a wrap around this line here. Now you're going to do it again, you throw it over, but this time you're going to wrap both lines. Okay, so you're going to take both of the cordages, but keeping a gap there, because what you need to do now is make a bite in the working end and put it through the gap and then pull up. Okay, and that's now adjustable and it grips onto the rope, and that's better than using those little clips and what have not, because you can save some weight by doing that. Like I say, knots cost nothing to learn, except for the rope, and they're light, they weigh nothing. Okay, so, and again, this is quick releasing, so you can just pull it and then you can get released. Okay guys, so that is that knot there. I'll try to get a different position here just to show you a bit more of a close-up of that knot. Okay, so that knot again, this time I'm going to just do it from the tree this time, because I can get really close up to what I'm doing here. This one does catch people out, even though it's simple to do. So this is my working end, this hand. Okay, this is the end that's tied to the tarp, say. Okay, but we're looking at it slightly upside down now because it's in this angle, but the knot is this. So take your working end, go over, okay, the rope that's got the tension on it, wrap it 3 times around. Okay, you could do it twice, it would still work. I like to do 3 because what you'll find is you're almost like creating a fist. You'll see in a second. So when I bring them together, you can see there's 3 little loops, and it's almost like it's gripping the rope itself. Then you pinch them together, and on the next wrap you go around both of them. Okay, keeping a gap there. You can then take a bite in your rope, okay, and you can thread that through the gap. Let me do that again, guys, that was rubbish. Okay, so take a bite in your rope, thread it through the gap, cinch it all down. So let's get it close. That's it. So cinch it all down there, pull tight, and there's your adjustable slippery hitch. Okay, it goes there, creates that tension for you. Again, that's quick release as well. Okay guys, now for the Prosix knot. Okay, so now we're going to do a Prosix knot. We're going to need some more cordage for this. Okay, we only need a little bit, so I'm going to just cut off about that much. Okay, and we'll tell you when you apply this. So let me just get my knife here quickly. Okay, so we're going to just cut that there. Okay, just get my knife back in. Alright, so this is some soft, very thin cordage, not thick. And the little tip, what I find, if you use cordage for the Prosix thinner than the one it's going to grip onto, it works a lot better. Okay, it shows more tension. If the rope that you're using for the Prosix thicker than the one that you're using it on, it will tend to slip a little bit more. Okay, that's just my tip. I find the thinner cordage on thicker rope works a lot better, and it's really easy, guys. Okay, you take a bite like that, okay, and you go over the cordage and pass it through the round of the loop part. Okay, that bite, you go around and you do it again. So you go around twice, then you pull that down, and then what you have again is like a little fist. So when I pull in this direction, it's not going anywhere, and if I go this direction, it's not going anywhere. But if I have to grab the knot, I can adjust it wherever I want. And this is good if you're going to suspend this part to the tarp that's hanging over, and then you can pull it and it will get some tension there. Okay, you can leave them on your ridge line if you want. You can leave them on your tarp. Another way to tie the Prosix knot, let's imagine this was the tarp. Okay, this bit, so it's attached to the tarp there, and I'm going to tie a Prosix onto the ridge line. Okay, so what you could do is you take a bite, or just break the line like that, wrap it round twice, back on itself. Okay, so once you've done that, you can go round that end and then tuck it down here twice. So you go around that one twice. When you've pulled it through, you've created that Prosix again. Okay, and that's a way you can keep your line attached to your tarp, and you know, have your Prosix there, you just put them on that way. That's a bit more complex if you ask me. Personally, if you're starting out, I wouldn't go down that route straight away. You can if you want to be ambitious, okay, by all means, but the way I showed you at the beginning, okay, was a much more efficient way of learning that knot. Okay, so let me just get my square knot out here. But the way I showed you the original way, well, I'll get this knot out off there. So I've got that knot off there then. The way I showed you at the beginning, that's the best, and well, I say best, it's the easiest way to learn. So you just go through the bite, go over itself, through it again, and then pull it. That's it. There's your Prosix, and then you just tie that as a bit of a simple square knot onto your tarp. That there is a great starting one, and it's the one that most people stay with anyways. Okay, guys, so I hope that's been very informative for you on those knots. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at some other options, okay, of setting up your tarp without the use of too many knots. If anything, you only need one knot. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, so another technique you can use without using too many knots, if anything, you only need one knot to know, okay, which is this one here, which is the overhand knot. Okay, and what happens is, to do an overhand knot, you should already know this one, guys, because it's just the way you start your shoelace. Okay, so you just do a little loop like that, and you just go over the hand, so it's looking like that. Okay, so we should be all familiar with that particular knot. Okay, now where that comes in handy, you can create a series of overhand knots along a piece of cord. Just bend it in half and make a series of overhand knots like so. Okay, the way you do that, distance wise, would be your own personal preference here. Just a couple of inches would be enough, or a couple of centimeters. Okay, just do overhand knot between two bits of rope. Okay, so I'm standing on that there. Okay, so overhand knot between two bits of rope, pulling it. There you go, there's your overhand knot. All we have to do then is go to our tree, go around the tree. Okay, you can see the knot that's on the end here. We're going to use this one for now. We can pull that through the two pieces, so just put it in between the two pieces, and when you pull that tight, that knot gets jammed just in there. Okay, and that's going to go nowhere. And you could do the same on the other end, but going through the webbing. Okay, so let's imagine my fingers here is the webbing, okay, of the tarp itself, and then just feed that knot through between the two parts there. Okay, and then that will be how you set it up. So let me show you that again. Let's show you in the tree. Tell what else you can do is take a stick. So it's a dead standing, guys, so I'm not damaging the tree here. We can even take a stick like that, go around, and you can do this on your tarp as well. Oh, drop that stick. Okay, let's do another one. That'll do. It's a bit wet. There we are. Okay, so we can put it through itself like that. Okay, there's your jam knot. That'll be enough, to be fair, but if you want a security for this, you could take your stick, splice the bit near the knot and put that there, and that would jam things in place. So you can see that there, guys. Okay, that would jam it in place, going nowhere. And you could do the same on the webbing part of your tarp, so just go back on itself. You can even stick a stick there as well if you wanted to, and that can create tension for both ends of your tarp, as well as you can use this as your guy ropes and just stick your tent peg or whatever you have into the ground, pulling it tight, and it will stop at one of these knots. That's how you do things without the knot, guys. So the only knot really you need is this overhand knot, which we should all know. If you don't, get someone to tie you a whole chain of knots, and then you've got that. Once you've done it once, you'll never have to do it again. Okay, guys? Thank you very much. So there's some examples of knots that I've been using over the years to set up my tarp, and like I say, guys, there's not one way of doing this. There's so many ways you can set up your tarp, and so many different ways and configurations and knots that could be applied. What I'd say is use the ones that's going to be working for you. Okay, the source that I read was the Ramir's Bushcraft book, and that has helped me, and because I've used those knots, they've never failed me. So, you know, if it doesn't fail, then no need to fix things, is it? You know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So them are the knots that work well, and I can quick release them. And as I said, you know, to erect a tarp or to put it down as quick as possible, I can do that now. Okay, so it's one of those that takes practice. Keep practicing. That's the reality of things like this, guys. When it comes to bushcraft or survival or campcraft or anything that you're trying to practice that's relating to the outdoors, then just practice. That's the key thing. And a good thing about this particular subject, you can practice it at home. Okay? You can go around the leg of a chair and practice all these things at home as well. Okay. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you again soon, and you know, feel free to ask questions. If you've got anything you want to say or a video you'd like me to make, just leave a comment in the comment box. I'll be more than happy to oblige to that, guys, and I'll see you again in the next video. Take care.